Hi everybody, my name is Mark Ironson and this week's video is on our leafleting campaign and how we're recruiting and how we're getting them. And what I do is I quite often recruit leaflet staff on the ground, and the reason for that is because I'm on the ground doing the research on the patch anyway, because it's a brand new patch. So I'm up and down the alleyways, smelling the air and speaking to the people and seeing what shops are in the area, because I've done the research on Google and stuff, but I actually want to know what's on the ground. So I go on the ground and do my leaflets myself. And the thing is, when you're doing it, you come across leaflet teams, and I know that you might not imagine that right now, but if you think back to when you were buying a new car, and it might have been a Ford Mondeo or something, and you're thinking about buying a Ford Mondeo, don't you just see that type of car on the road all over the place, everywhere you drive? It is exactly the same with leafleters. When you start looking for them and you're on the ground and you see people and meet people, you'll see the granny trolleys that they cart around with them. You'll see the satchels. You'll start to see leaflet guys on the ground just because you're looking for them. And it's really weird because when I approach them and talk to them, I don't say, "Would you like a job?" because they've already got a job, because they've got a leaflet, a sack of leaflets with them. What I actually ask them is if they'd like an extra day's work a week. Quite often the answer is yes, because they don't work 7 days in their current role. I can give them 1 day's work a week, and I recruit them there and then on the spot. There's a short interview, usually in a McDonald's, because that's a clean and tidy place to work, a clean and tidy place to meet. We can have a latte together, we can have a chat, and I can see what type of person they are. I've got a few standard interview questions like, what do you do now, where do you work, what patch do you work, how often do you work, and they're obviously an outdoors person because they're currently leafleting, so what type of companies are they leafleting for? If it's a takeaway, for example, that's perfect. Double glazing companies, brilliant. Supermarkets, fantastic. Pizza places, brilliant again. So they're obviously doing it quite often. And with this, when I've got one, I can then recruit more, because I pay them £35 a day. I pay them a £5 bonus if I get some leaflets delivered to some of my houses in that patch. If I own some in that patch, if it's not a new patch, I then pay them a £250 bonus if we get a deal on that patch. Obviously that's paid on completion, so that might take a few weeks, but they get a £250 bonus, which you don't get with any other job. So I've got a pretty strong proposition to recruit. So when I've got them got them recruited, they ask for cash. Generally, leafleters ask for cash. It's one of them cash type businesses, and I give them cash, but I log it and I get a signature so I can keep my books straight, and it's going out in a legitimate way. How they deal with their tax affairs is up to them, but I'm a business, so I've got to make sure I log it properly. So when I've got one, they'll often tell other people, so I end up on the patch with a little book full of contacts of people that want a job. Now, I'm not ready to expand when I first take on a leafleter, or even in the first couple of months, so I don't recruit anybody, but I've got this book of people that want a job and that will work at £35 a day. So I keep that book, and that becomes my almost, in the old days we just got a Rolodex full of contacts for people that want work. So therefore, if I lose one, which you do because it's not a career position, a leafleter, so if I lose one, I can go to the next job in the next contact in my book, and we'll go and interview them and give them a call and see if they want to come down for a cup of coffee, chat in McDonald's, and take them on. Now that becomes a rolling process. We're always recruiting, so always be recruiting. ABR, always be recruiting. In sales, always be closing. In recruitment, always be recruiting. I'll think of a fancy name for that, but that will do for now. So always be recruiting ahead of time. We're talking to people before we need them, so that when we need them, we've got the contacts there ready to go. So that's how we recruit leafleters. Simple set of questions. Cup of coffee at McDonald's, a clean and tidy place to work, or to interview, on the ground, and then I issue them kit when they start. So they get a briefing, they get a knock list. It's an old-fashioned term, I call it a knock list, when we used to knock doors for a living. So they get a knock list, which is on a clipboard. It's got the street name and it's got all of the numbers down the side, so they can mark off every house that's for sale. They can mark off just a tick list. They can mark off every house that's to let, and they can mark off every empty house that they suspect is empty. That gives me information for another campaign that we're going to do later on in the year. and they've got this. They've got other kit. They've got a satchel bag which you can get on eBay for about £4. It's a specially made A5 satchel bag with a reflective strip for them to carry their leaflets in. They get issued sticky gloves. They've got, I think they're called touchscreen gloves. They've got a sticky fingerprint, things on the fingertips, so they can use the leaflet. They can grab the leaflets quite easily, but it protects their hands from paper cuts. And they get issued an ice scraper, and the ice scraper is just a 99p ice scraper from Aldi, and that allows them to shove the leaflet through the letterbox in the house, and that saves those the finger bites from dogs on the other side of the letterbox, and it saves them from wrapped knuckles from those the brass letterboxes that open inwards. It saves the knuckles from that. So they get this issued kit, and they get their £5 bonus when they come back with a completed knock list full of all the detail that I need to carry on the campaign. Anyway, that's this week's video. I'll check in with you next week. My name is Mark Einstein. Speak to you soon.